Okay, welcome to the October Frights horror panel, and we're discussing horror monsters tonight, but not the regular traditional horror monsters. No, we're discussing alternatives to traditional vampires, werewolves, zombies, and all those sort of things. So, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves, and so we'll start with Angela. So take it away.
Hi, my name is, I can't even say my name. My name is Angela Rico Smith, and I write horror, of course. That's why I'm here. I've been publishing for about, I don't know, Anita, how long? Like over 10 years, right? Because we kind of started
Yeah,
similar.
it's
Yeah,
been too long.
it's been a minute, and yet we're still somehow here. And I publish Space and Time magazine, and that's about it.
Okay, Lucienne.
I'm Lucienne LeBeau. I am the editor in chief of Silver Hollow Stories Publishing, LLC, and I have written 6 books. I have a seventh coming out in 2024, and I am the former editor in chief of Double Feature Magazine, or senior editor of Double Feature Magazine.
Okay, Nina.
Nice. Hi, I'm Nina DiArcangela. I'm one of the owners and founders of Siren Skull Publications, one of the founders of Pen of the Damned, the admin for Ladies of Horror, our picture prompt writing contest that we do every month. I'm a writer, I'm a publisher, I am an editor, graphic designer, photographer, all those lovely things, and I'm here to talk monsters.
Okay, Nikki.
I'm Nikki Nelson Hicks. I'm just a writer. I just write stories. I write stories from all different genres, though. I will pretty much, you give me a contract, I'll give you a story. I'm pretty much a bit of a pin whore. But I love monsters. I have loved monsters my entire life. So I'm looking forward to talking about monsters.
Is a pin whore like a pin up, but
I like
with something?
Better, but better.
I like it. I dig it.
Okay, and I'm your host, A.F. Stewart, Anita Stewart. I write fantasy, horror, and poetry. And as you can see, I also write all things dark and stabby. So, anyway, and as everyone said, we're here to talk monsters. And so the first question is monsters are seen as a staple of the horror genre. I mean, how many of you have used them as characters, and do you do it often or just occasionally?
My
Don't talk
entire
first.
everybody go at once.
And now,
I often say that if there's not a monster or a murder by chapter 3, I am bored. Okay, there must
Yes.
be one of those two things, or I am bored. I use monsters a lot. I mean, even if it's just the humans who are actually the monsters. But yes, I like monsters. They're great fun. And I use them from all over the place. But yes, I use monsters all over the place. Most of my stories. I was thinking about this because you sent us these questions, and so I pulled out my books. And yeah, I got a lot of monsters, a lot of cannibals. Weirdly enough, I tend to dig the cannibals a lot. But yeah, a lot of monsters. So yeah, I love playing with monsters because you can do all kinds of things with them and play outside and use your imagination. It's fun.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple of people saying hello.
Oh,
And Laura's also a horror author,
Yes,
Yes.
monsters.
and Vanessa is here.
Hey.
hi Vanessa.
Okay, so anyone else? How often do you use monsters in your writing?
Oh, I'll start with this. I'll go next. Pretty often I love monsters. I like to use really, this is why we're on this panel, very non-traditional monsters. In a lot of ways, like the moon in one case was a monster in one of my stories. But I like it when we can be the monsters because like we can role play being the monsters. That might be like a personal thing. But yeah, like pretty much you have to have a monster, I kind of think,
Oh God, yes.
for it to be like a palatable story.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about you two, Nina and Lucienne? Do you use monsters often or occasionally?
I think monsters are in my Silver Hollow trilogy. They're all throughout, and they're Lovecraftian type. Made up my own mythos inspired by Lovecraft, and kind of went with it. And for me, the monsters, I do, and I swear I didn't steal this from you guys, but some of my people are monsters.
Yes.
People are pretty monstrous.
I swear I didn't. But yeah, I think it's important to say what. Like, I also enjoy the misunderstood monster.
Oh yes.
Why did they become a monster?
Mm-hmm. The other.
Yes.
The other. Yeah. I love the concept and playing around with the idea of the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so apparently your mic,
Oh,
Nikki,
okay.
isn't coming
Sorry.
in.
There we go.
All right, so okay, and what about you, Nina? How have you played with monsters?
I would say more so than monster, I'm going to use the term creature because I don't like the predefined tropes. I like to drop details, build small form, and let the reader imagine the rest. Basically, let them put their own circumstances on what creeps them out. What kind of skin for them is freaky? What kind of oozing goo does their oozing goo look like? I like to let them go ahead and imagine the details I didn't put in, so they can personalize their creature slash monster for themselves. So that's usually my go-to thing. And I also love a sympathetic monster. I love it when the people are the baddies and the monster is, we're all rooting for the monster and we're like, yeah, go get him, get him, get him, get him. It does
Because we go back to
Love
cannibalism.
that.
People are tasty.
Yes.
exactly.
Okay, and yeah, I play with monsters all the time. I've played with traditional ones, not so traditional ones. My book that's coming up on the 27th plays with fairy tales and a whole bunch of different avenues of creatures and monsters in that too. So
Awesome.
are traditional monsters your go-to trope, or do you like to actively seek out the non-traditional creatures?
I always go for non-traditional or look for some way to twist because it's just more fun. Like for instance, in my Jack Hedgie stories, I found a really great book about different slave tales as well as a lot of monsters and legends from South Carolina. It's called Gumbo Yaya. It's a great book. It's full of nothing, all these really cool monsters. So I took the Boo Daddy idea. Boo Daddy in those stories are actually kind of a monster, kind of a boogeyman, but I needed a guardian from the swamps. So I turned the Boo Daddy into more of a guardian. I did the same thing with oh, the in my Stone Baby stuff, I wrote a story called The Turning Point, and I basically took the monster from your closet, and it's because it's from a dream I had when I was a kid, and the monster from your closet basically is trying. It makes this man have to decide whether or not to let to get rid of his child because he's all this, or to fight against the monster in the closet. I like playing with that. Like the perverse muse, little story I wrote. The idea is to take the idea of, my question was, why did all the women in Poe's life die? And so I was talking to my friend, and Todd Kiesling was like, "Do you think it was vampires?" And I thought, "Oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe Poe was a vampire." And he's like, "Oh, write that story." And I was like, "That's boring. Poe's a vampire. It's boring." So I changed it, and I found a much cooler monster for Poe and things to happen to. I like that. I like to find monsters and twist it and turn it. Or, like for instance, in Rumble, I use the Mongolian deathworm versus another Mongolian monster. Let me find the word. I can never remember the name of it. Oh yeah, the Hadni Magna, the Eaters of the Rocks. And that was fun. To me, it's fun. I'm kind of a research nerd. If I can I'll get lost just researching cool legends and stories that I can take and twist for my own pleasures. That's what I do for fun.
Okay, so what about you, Angela? What monsters are your go-to trope?
I'm actually looking at like my little bibliography, and I'm like, oh yeah. It turns out that I do use a lot of non-traditional monsters, but often my monsters are usually just something I made up. Like I've got one, Destroy with Love, and it's the monster is actually like a kind of like a big carrion crow supernatural creature, but it's actually like the good fairy in the story. So technically, I guess you would say a monster because it eats carrion and stuff, but it's actually a very helpful if you want revenge, I guess. So maybe like a vicious good fairy. And I've got serial killer, which is actually cereal, like the food, and it's actually the cereal that kills. and Wholehearted, which is actually a very sweet little girl who, will steal your heart, literally.
Literally?
And yeah, of course,
Ooh.
literally. I mean, it's kind of like one of those, of course she's going to kill you. I've got like Perfect Girlfriend where like the assassin and I usually try to flip it where the monster is the good guy, the sympathetic monster thing, but also like the hero. So like making friends is sometimes my fantasy stuff. Like it's about a chupacabra because I really, really want to own one in real life
Ah,
and live with it.
because it'd be so cute. They're like a really
I
vicious
know.
chihuahua.
Exactly. And
Oh,
I have a little vicious chihuahua named Chupacabra, but it would
of
just be
course
like,
you do.
oh, but it doesn't have the little hands and the little
Oh,
knife and
like,
the.
Jeff the Talking Mongoose. That's what I want. I want Jeff the
Oh,
Talking Mongoose.
yes, yeah, or
That's
that,
all
or
I
that.
want.
Yeah. And then like going into Lovecraft, I like taking other people's, like I took with his permission, of course, Max, like we did talk about this, his monster Gulaplas, and then I did the pre-story of that as a baby, but the monster winds up being the woman who's hatching Gulaplas. So, kind of a twist, but also that was because I really wanted a Gulaplast. That would be so cool. I can't keep fish or sea monkeys, but a Gulaplast, I could do that.
Sea monkeys.
Okay, so Vanessa loves it when someone takes a monster and turns the assumptions around and makes it different.
It's fun.
Yeah, agree.
And Tamara likes banking on readers' imaginations. And she also, whoops, that's not the one I want. Yeah, see my brain mush. Yeah, people are the scariest monsters, and yet Tamara thinks so too. So
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
it's an agreement. People are scary, but there's something you said in your comment, Angela, about the little girl as the monster. I've done that a couple of times. Has anyone else used the innocence?
Yes, right here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Now
what
It's so
is
satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, and now entering Silver Hollow, there's a little girl named Daisy who appears to a bus driver named Lemley and convinces him to murder all the children on the bus.
Yes, you
Oh,
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he's a bus driver, he might not have needed a lot of convincing.
true.
Yeah, it felt
true.
right.
The encouragement was already there.
Right.
Yes.
Really, she was his sock puppet, and he was like, "What did you say?" Like,
Kill
Right.
them all, you say?
Let's
You kill them all?
okay. Uh, disclaimer: we are speaking fictionally, of course.
Yes,
Of
I do get a lot
course.
of what is wrong with you after they read that story. Like,
Oh, yes.
leave
All the
those
all the
kids
time.
alone. And I was like,
Yeah.
you never been on a bus with a bunch of screaming children? That doesn't trigger anything for you? Oh, okay.
That statement though, what is wrong with you? I bet if each one of us thought back to our childhoods, there's a teacher asking that same question
God,
somewhere
yes.
in your memory, right?
Right.
What is
yes.
wrong with you?
You.
Why
I
is
was
there
so
so much
lucky.
death on this paper? It was just
I
a
was so lucky
story.
that my teacher
Yeah.
actually took my stuff and said, "You just need someone to help channel your energy." And she let me do plays where we autopsied
Yep.
Bigfoot. We threw organs into this. It was great. And she
Yeah.
let me do this
Good
because
teacher.
she's a great
Yeah.
teacher. She was.
My English teacher had no problem with the story I wrote about the haunted samurai sword. So maybe I just had better teachers.
Mine were the
I-
same way. They encouraged me to read or write whatever I wanted because I would not conform. So if there's not going to be conformity, there has to be something. So other than get out, 'cause
Channel
you're out.
it.
Exactly,
Channel
exactly.
it.
And actually, they really enjoyed them. So
Yes.
hey, why not?
My
We're
first short
interesting, fun
story.
kids. Go ahead. Sorry.
My first short story was a call to my parents because it was about babies getting stuck in the wall and some guy killing himself because he kept hearing the baby ghost screaming. And it was like, and that was second grade. So they were like, we need to talk to your
Holy
parents.
What is wrong with you? I'm
I don't
sorry.
know. I don't even know
7
where that
years old.
story came from, but it just seemed like a good idea at the
It's
time.
awesome idea. I'm
I
jealous
was
of your
reading-
7-year-old self. Oh my
I
god.
was reading a lot of Alfred Hitchcock at the time, so I'm sure that's probably like an Alfred Hitchcock. You know those little story. Oh, I have one. Oh, you probably can't see. Oh, yeah, you can. That one. Those little. I love these.
Oh yes.
Nice.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
things and the terrible. Oh, I'm sure they were good at the time. Those like weird 70s, 60s illustrations. Yeah, so I'm
Yes.
sure that that's probably the plot in one of these. Like, if I wrote that
Yeah.
story now, I'd probably get in trouble for plagiarism.
He's dead. It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Our parents let us read things we shouldn't have as children,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
much.
I was reading the original Grimm's fairy tales
Oh,
as a
yeah.
kid. Yeah, and
Right.
my favorite go-to reading was the Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine.
Oh, yes, I love that.
Yeah, there's some really dark stories in there
Very
sometimes.
dark.
Yeah.
And Ray Bradbury.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
yes.
absolutely. I
I
had an
used to,
uncle who used to feed me all of that stuff. He'd bring me everything my parents did not want me to read, including a
yes.
whole bunch of books on witchcraft and all sorts of different things. And yeah, there
Oh,
was a special shelf in the basement where I had to go read them because I had a sister and brother and couldn't bring them upstairs. So I
Oh, that's so
want me
funny.
taking the others. I want them to turn out like me.
too late.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Our
Gen
parents had no
X.
clue
Oh,
what we were.
yeah, Gen X
Yeah.
here, and my father actually gave me. He said, "You're 8 years old. You can read Cujo and Carrie. Here you go.
Yeah,
It'll be
Yeah.
fine. We'll talk
Oh.
about it. It's fine."
Oh, it was the
Yeah.
true crime magazines I would find underneath my father's bed. You open it, there's pictures of dead bodies. I remember one picture of a body that was crushed into a can, or it was something. It was a big can was pushed into it, and I'm like 10. That's just messed
Mhm.
up. That is messed up. I look on it now and
We
go,
all
it's
had
messed
that.
up. But at the time, I was just fascinated.
Like, that's
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. But I
It
mean,
is what we call
I got into Ray Bradbury through the Scholastic
yeah.
books.
Oh, oh my God, I love that. I can
Scholastic
Yeah.
magazines. They had Ray Bradbury stories in the
Yes.
Scholastic magazines.
Mm,
I
I mean,
just remember the smell of those
yeah.
things. Oh,
but
We
Anybody
yeah,
turned
remember
out
glasses?
fine. We turned out fine.
I'm
yes, we
Yeah.
did.
fine. My therapist says I am really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She said I could be much more screwed
I'm
up, and I'm
doing
doing really,
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. No, nobody talks back from the freezer. Like once you put them there, you are okay. Like
You
it's
are
okay.
okay.
You get approval.
It's in there.
Never hear strange sounds from the trunk. Never behind my car.
Ah,
Okay,
None of
so
this is a confession.
yeah,
right.
what are some of the non-traditional monsters you've used? I know Nikki mentioned a lot of what she's used.
I've
What are
used them.
some of the non-traditional ones that you've used? The creatures.
Are we talking to
Well,
me?
Anybody?
Anybody?
now,
But you can
now
go
we
first
are.
if you want, Nina.
Nina, go do it.
I tend to like as soon as I start with a monster trope, my brain goes kaiju, and
Oh,
I start mashing them together. I can't stay out of that whole Gaia and kaiju sort of world. That's just where my brain goes. It's either there or evil little children, which we've kind of covered children. But
Mhm.
yeah, what kind of monsters have I twisted? I believe was the question, right?
or
Non-traditional
use.
monsters you've used. Or
Okay,
twisted.
well,
Anything.
I have written some stuff about werewolves, except for I never wrote about the werewolf. I wrote all about the gypsy tribe and the landscape and the human scope around it, described the people and those sort of things and the situation, and then just allowed the werewolf to almost be the observer looking on with you, as opposed to the narrator or one of the characters. And you just kind of had to piece it together. And I think pretty much everybody got it. At least I got it. I wrote it.
Okay. What non-traditional creatures have you used, Lucian?
Um, I think in Project Nowhere, one that I kept dreaming about. It was an unseen force that was actually a sort of. I let the reader decide what it actually would wind up looking like. Teeth, claws, fur, based in the Antarctic, hunting the scientists down one by one. Inspired by Lovecraft and The Thing, kind of blended together, and basically a sort of you can't see it until it's literally right in front of you and you're about to die.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Kind of like toddlers. They just kind of
I
appear out of nowhere.
like toddlers.
True, that's true.
Okay. So what
I
non-traditional
like children.
creatures have you used, Angela?
Um, uh, God, now I'm like thinking about children and all the terrible things people probably think about me. I love children. I really do. I also write children's books. Maybe I shouldn't admit that. But, I like to use traditional monsters in a non-traditional way. Like I've got, the thing, like three guys, a priest and a this and a that walk into a bar. So I did that as a short story for something, and it was a Loch Ness a vampire to werewolf, and they all walk into the bar. So it's just kind of like that scene, like an ordinary scene, but what would be happening in that bar? Like people like taking each other's hearts out, or like that kind of thing. So like a rave club, but without the ecstasy, but in hell, kind of thing. Or I mean, gosh, just like, yeah, my tiredness just kicked in. Yeah, like that's it. I just can only think of what people think about me with children now. Like, I feel like I have to redeem myself.
Okay, I've done a few vampire stories. Like I've got Chronicles of the Undead, and I've done, but in this book, Visions and Nightmares, I've got a couple of non-traditional ones. Like I did a Wendigo story set in Canada, which was fun. Didn't end well for the main characters.
Never does. You don't go against the Windy Boys. No.
Yeah, and I did give the Wendigo kind of a one werewolf trait, which was not traditional to the myth, but it worked for the story. And I also have a Jinn story in Visions and Nightmares.
Nice.
Where,
Jinn.
but the it's told from the point of view of the Jinn, but it's not set in the Middle East. It's kind of like set in this kind of like medieval Europe village. There's a reason for it, but anyway, of course, that was a lot of fun. That story did not work at all in the first when I first started writing it, because I started writing it from the point of view of the human character. It didn't work until I actually started writing it from the point of view of the monster character, or the Jinn character, and then it worked perfectly. So. Yeah, and then the sequel to Visions and Nightmares, Fairy Tales and Nightmares, I've got one story has a Japanese ghost and a yokai in it. And another story has a troll.
I have trolls.
Oh, I love trolls. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not enough trolls in fiction right now.
Enough trolls.
You don't
Yeah,
see
well,
that.
yeah, my troll makes a short appearance, and he's not your traditional troll, whether he's going to eat. He doesn't feed on people. Well, he feeds on people, but he
Who
also
doesn't?
feeds on fear. He wants
Nice.
your pain, he wants your fear, he wants he wants all the bad stuff and sucks it out of you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a fun character to play with too. Is just take the traditional troll and make them a little different.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I do vampires sometimes, but it's very Poppy Z Bright. Very sexual in that orientation. And the vampire is not necessarily there for your blood. He's there for there is usually a she on she. There for your soul, and it's usually a gift. And so my vampire accepts gifts from their willing. So yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
I will say Immortal Life. I do put that out there often. I'm here if you are a vampire. I'm okay with being 55 forever.
Yeah.
Just put that out there.
You and me both, Angela. We'll rock it to the end.
Do it right here. Not serial killers, Anita. Vampire.
No.
Eternal life.
That's right.
You know, those are harder to come back from.
Different kind of monster.
Okay. So there's a lot of creatures out there in world mythologies that don't get a lot of attention. Have you ever played with world mythologies other than the traditional Norse or Greek creatures?
Oh, yeah. Especially like the Jinn. I just did a story that was done in Razor Blades and Fun Size Candy called "What the Cat Dragged In," Anyway, it deals with the Jinn, but it's set place in basically this white trash trailer park, and the two terrible human beings, and the cat drags in a Jinn, and they have the Jinn, and they're trying to figure out what to do with the Jinn, and shenanigans. A lot of shenanigans happen. It was really fun. I had a great time playing with that, and I love Jinn. I love the idea of the Jinn. But yeah, Jinn, of course, the Mongolian deathworm, and I got into that little stuff. I get with that. What else? Oh, I did some Lovecraft monsters in the Jake Gish and Hedgie stories. Lovecraft. Oh, of course, voodoo. Gotten some of the voodoo because it's in New Orleans. Gotten some voodoo stuff. Loa possessed chickens. Alchemists.
Nice.
The monsters. Yeah, that's pretty much it, really. A lot of the Boo Daddy was the biggest guy in the end of it all. But yeah, I love to play with different anything outside with your basic, Roman Greek mythology or Norse. Big Norse is big now. But no, because the world is much bigger. than dead white guys. Oh, there's so much more out there
Yes.
to play with. Much
Yes.
nastier things out there to play with. Baba Yaga. Ooh,
Oh, I've got a children's story featuring her, but she's nice.
I just did a fairy. One of my fairy tales is Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Baba Yaga can be good or bad depending on what kind of mood she's in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, yeah, my Baba Yaga's, well, she's not exactly good. She does something that's not exactly good, but she has her reasons.
Exactly, she has
Yeah.
reasons.
Her
I
reasons.
always see her as kind of chaotic neutral. She
Mhm.
whatever
Yeah.
needs to be done. And
Like your mother, don't piss her off.
don't
and
do not
you'll
piss her
live.
off.
Yeah,
Because
that's
truly,
pretty
I do
much.
not care about you guys at all. You guys are really beneath me, and you're pissing me off. So yeah, I like her a lot. She's very strong
Mm.
female.
Yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
Baba Yaga story is sort of a prequel to like her main Baba Yaga stuff. It's kind of how she got
neat.
started.
Okay. Nice. Creationism.
Yeah. So, what about you, Nina? Have you played with world mythologies?
Yeah, I like to go to Aztec and Mayan
Oof.
because there's so little known about it that there's so much freedom to move amongst them. And then you have glyphs. And as soon as you have a glyph, you now have an image to pair with what you're trying to impart to someone. So you can give them a little bit of a glyph, a little bit of an idea, and fill in the blank. Because here it comes.
Yes, I
The
love
words
that.
you didn't
Yeah.
even know you knew. Here they come. So that's why I like going there because it's left out of everything.
Yes.
The Gaia thing, Asian, all that they get mixed in. But when you go South American, Asian, or Mayan, Aztec, people tend to forget. Oh yeah, I remember that. I learned about that. So I like going there for that
That's
reason.
awesome.
Right.
Sacrificial stuff.
Oh, so much blood. It's very gory.
Yes.
Okay. So, what about the Angela and Lucian? Sorry, Lucian. Did you play with world mythologies?
I play with out of world mythologies.
Ooh.
So
And beyond.
yeah, the Walking Doctor. The first half you think it's just a normal story about a plague, and then spoiler alert, it's aliens.
Of course. Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah. There's a monster I never even thought of, but yeah, aliens.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
like to go. I like
Definitely.
to go way off world.
The
Yeah,
way
well.
other. Yeah, that's the true other. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Okay, so
awesome.
I know you've played with the world mythologies, Angela.
Yes, I was actually gonna say, like, beyond like Asian everything, the Bible is honestly one of my favorite places to play. That was End of May, which was the first book I wrote. It's actually Cain and Abel's story, and Halil is the first vampire, which actually was Cain because he was the first to shed blood, and it's got all this stuff. But there's actually like a big theory about that is where vampires came from. Which, that's like the disappointing thing when you think like you're so smart and you thought of this by yourself. And then you read, oh, it's in World of Warcraft or something. I can't
Yes.
remember where I found it. It's like, oh, okay, well, it does make sense.
Vampire
Yeah.
Masquerade, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Off to no end when that happens.
Mhm,
I have
Yes.
I will trash an entire piece over that. I'm like, nope, not doing it now.
Oh, that's funny.
I
Oh, and
scramble,
Baba
like, how
Yaga,
can I do
though.
this differently? How can I do this differently?
Yeah, I'll just twist it.
To add to the Baba Yaga trio, mine is a children's book, and it's a sheep that has a rainbow fleece, and she knits off of her back, and she knits children into itchy, scratchy sweaters, and hangs them underneath her Airstream camper that walks around. So,
Oh, no.
See a little
That's
howl moving castle in there too.
horrible. I love it.
Yes.
Oh,
That is cool.
It is. It's low key evil. I like
yes.
it.
I love
yeah,
it.
itchy, like little spider cocoons, rainbow ones though, hanging under the.
Love it.
And mom has no idea what she's buying when she buys that book.
I just read a children's story, and my daughter says, because she also publishes them, and she says, "This is actually about capitalism, isn't it?" And I was like,
Indeed.
Nothing is about what the words are.
yeah. One of my stories, the new fairy tales and nightmares, that's totally about capitalism. I didn't plan it like that, but it's like I'm writing it. I'm going, yeah, this is a social commentary on the society today. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yep, Stella the squirrel couldn't keep all those nuts for herself.
told,
Look what
told
happened
by
to the
carnivorous,
forest.
told by carnivorous mermaids, but it's totally a
See, mermaids are an interesting monster because they're
Monster.
typically all like rainbow and like lovey, but they're
no,
actually,
They're vicious.
vicious.
no,
Yes,
not my mermaids. All of my mermaids are carnivorous. You don't want to meet them.
Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
no
Yeah, but I mean, I've
Look at
played.
that, I'm wearing Medusa earrings. So
Yeah.
gorgons. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love Medusa.
I love Medusa.
Yeah, but I've played a lot in the Celtic mythology.
Mhm.
Love that. I love Celtic mythology. But I am playing currently in the Norse mythology though, because I'm retelling Loki's story
Oh,
Mm.
nice.
Oh,
as
nice.
Loki's the hero.
That's a brave
Well,
one.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a
Yeah.
brave one.
But that's fun. I've kind of got stalled in it though a little bit because one of the stories is kind of turning in it's like 5 short stories sort of interconnected. One of the short stories is sort of turning into a novella, I think. So
yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing
That
wrong
would
with
be
that.
the bonus story. That's the one that, featuring
yeah,
this story.
that's the one that doesn't have Loki as the main character.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's got the Midgard. The Midgard. That's the Midgard serpents story. So
Well, there you go. Side tangent.
Yep.
yeah.
Nothing wrong with
Anyway. Okay. Anyway, so we got an interesting question here. It says, when we travel into other cultures to borrow monsters, isn't there a risk of cultural appropriation, especially if we aren't well versed in that culture? So, anyone want to tackle this question?
Right here.
Okay,
that. Oh,
go
Okay.
ahead.
So I absolutely agree because we need to know the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation.
Ah.
So one of the things is that I'm a descendant of Roche Manitou Beowish. There are 2 monsters in the world that I will not use because the Anishinaabe have asked people to stop using those monsters. And so out of respect and that I don't want to appropriate, I won't use those. I don't judge somebody else because one, I don't know what research they went into. I don't know who they spoke with. I don't know what they have gathered or gotten permission to write. So I can't be in the place of saying, oh, you wrote about this monster and, you should not have. That's not for my place to say. But to appropriate something and steal its energy, without acknowledging what the people themselves have been through, not acknowledging their history, not acknowledging what has happened to them, not acknowledging how those stories came about, is the very essence of appropriation.
Makes sense.
Whereas getting involved in the culture, being one in the culture, letting the people in that culture tell you about it, and becoming one with that culture and immersing yourself makes it cultural appreciation.
Yeah,
that's a
I agree.
very fair explanation of that.
Yeah,
Works
very
for
good
me.
explanation too.
Very
Yeah,
on point.
I had a bit of that problem when I was writing fairy tales and nightmares. One of the stories, Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. I was retelling it, and I just wasn't comfortable with the way the story was going with the Middle Eastern culture.
Mm.
Some of the things I wanted to put in the story, I felt they might be not suited to that particular religion that they have now. So I actually took the story out of the Middle East and I put it in the ancient Roman Empire.
Mhm.
So I still had the story of the Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, but not necessarily in that culture. And again, so
Right.
that was a way I solved the problem for myself.
Mhm.
Anyway, actually, I preferred it writing the story in the ancient Roman Empire because I could openly talk about slavery better as
Mhm.
opposed to putting it in, like, say, the Ottoman Empire or whenever the original fairy tale was set. It was a lot easier to talk about slavery in the ancient Rome than it would be in something of a little more modern setting, I think. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
I think as long as it's done with respect and regard to what you're writing, and the people whose culture you're writing about and or into, as long as you've done it with respect and with kindness and with no ill intent, that it's a no harm, no foul situation. Avoid things that are inappropriate, avoid things that are cruel, avoid things that are, we're writing horror, so there's going to be cruelty. That's fine. Just don't be cruel about your cruelty, if that makes sense.
Yes.
As long as you do it with, that certain level of regard for what would be considered, too sensitive for someone living a life that you might be writing about. As long as you do it that way and you do it without intent to harm or intent to offend, I'm a no harm, no foul person when it comes to that. Especially, like, I write a lot of stuff that's twisted religion type of things, where I was raised Roman Catholic. I am not practicing. I have a wealth of knowledge. I used to teach Catholicism. I used to teach confirmation preparation. I was very, very imbued in my church. So I come from a place where I write very much about that in a derogatory and or could be misconstrued as ill-intended direction. But it's honestly with just a great deal of honesty and truth, and my own, whatever I write comes from me, my opinion, my feeling, how I perceive things. It's not to nullify anybody else's. It's just to say, hey, if you read a piece of my writing and it offends you, I'm sorry, maybe my writing isn't for you. But it never crosses a boundary where I'll write in another voice, and let's say I'll write something a little bit more antebellum style, right? We're writing something Southern, and we're being very careful about how we go about doing that, because we need to remember our history, and we need to remember that we aren't the people who need to live that again, and that we should be better than that, what it was here in our country, in the US, excluding Canada, sorry. But I don't know if everybody else is in the US, so.
I'm in the US, but I'm French Canadian, so it's a little.
Okay. So we'll excuse you.
I get what you're saying, though, Nima, because I was also raised Roman Catholic. So when you do say something that's critical of because of the way we were raised, there's a sort of, it's an interesting dynamic, because somebody who's still practicing Catholic say, hey, that hurts, and I get it. I was hurt too.
Exactly.
So we're just coming from different perspectives of the same. We're on either end of the same candy bar.
Exactly. We're nibbling from both ends. We'll be in the middle.
I can tell I'm hungry.
Probably, honestly, why I like religion so much, like to write about it, because I think I've been baptized like 15, or I am a baptism whore. You want me to join your religion? I am there. Come on, give me the literature. I will read all about it. I will jump in the water, drink the blood, whatever, because I'm curious. I'll do it. Satanism, Mormonism, Catholicism, went through a whole year of where you're like all the things. So it does feature a lot in there. One of the things that I think is the kindness thing, like everybody's talking. You don't want to do a stereotypical embellishment of a people or something that is cruel, as kind of historically has happened. But a lot of it, I think, too, for me, it's universal. We're so connected now that, like, a leprechaun is Irish, and my brain is so tired, I can't remember all the names of them, but like little short people character. Angels and fairies, and like there's this like little trope of a tiny childlike creature that causes mischief, so like maybe you want to write about it in a different culture, but you don't understand all the slight nuances, and there are so many, even like being a realtor, to sell a house to a Chinese couple, you had to know all these little things, like where the front door was placed, and because it really does matter. So you can take that creature and you can like merge it into your own and have a flavor of the other, but then you're not really treading upon areas that you may not understand and inadvertently be cruel on accident.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
you can always make something monstrous.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So that said, which world mythology would you like to see more of in writing? Anyone's writing.
Egypt. like the whole
Yes.
Sphinx and the underworld, and yeah.
Yeah, you
Ooh.
stole my answer, Angela.
Oh,
Damn
I'm
it.
sorry. I meant what Wonka Land.
No, actually I agree, but I'd like to see, more African mythology in general, not just Egypt, because there's some
Hmm.
very interesting things in different African
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone else have a world mythology they like to see more of in books?
I'd like to see a little bit more Aboriginal New Zealand and Australia. I'd like to see more of that because that really doesn't touch my world. That's so far,
Yeah.
realistically, in the real world, it's so far from my world
Yeah.
that I can only experience it through media and entertainment. So crack it open. Let's see
Yeah.
what's there.
You
Tell me
should
all the things I
introduce
don't
you should
know.
introduce
Let me
Nina.
know.
You should introduce Nina to Lee Murray, Angela.
Yeah, yeah. She's like pretty much the person that does write all that.
Let me just tell you, her voice breaks my heart. She is so sweet sounding. Okay, horror writer disclosure here. People, sounds, things, they just like I'm not a pink girl, right? I'm not a pink girl. Now, whether that's a stereotype or not, who knows? I say it, I'm not a pink girl. It means something to me, for me. But her voice, sends me
She's
sends me
very
straight.
adorable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I was like, because she's always like, well, to murder somebody, it's difficult, because
You melt. Don't do
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I give you Egypt because then I was like, Brazil. That's actually why I'm here. Duh. Like, there's so many things in Brazil.
the world.
The things that I'm actually like living in and researching. So
Yeah.
that's why I don't want anybody to write about them. Do not write about Brazil. It's mine. I'm
Oh, it's
doing
horrible. Don't do it. No, it's nothing here.
Yeah.
It's a
So
desert.
boring.
Don't worry, I'm already writing about the devil, so but it's been done. I'm just doing it in a different way.
Okay, so do you have any world mythology, Lucienne, that you would like to see more of in books?
I would like to see more of Japanese monsters culture, like the Oni. I've read some very entertaining stories about like the red Oni and the blue Oni. And the red Oni wanted to be friends, and the blue Oni, and so on and so on. I got that one wrong. I know I mixed up. I think it's the blue Oni who wants to be friends with humans, and the red Oni was like, "Why?" So,
humans are tasty.
Yeah, exactly. Food, not
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, deep dive into Japanese mythology. I did some for, like I said, I used the Japanese mythology in my Snow White story.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I had to go deep dive into their mythology, so that was fun.
Yeah, it's really entertaining. I was like, I want more of this.
Like, yeah, but what do you use? That's the thing. It's like,
Right.
what will fit the story? Because I mean,
Right.
I'm trying to take Snow White and put it in feudal Japan.
Right.
I'm going,
Nice.
I'm going, what will fit? Because I mean, I want to have the magic mirror, but you can't have a magic mirror like Western style. So, and then I came across this little tidbit where the yokai could inhabit objects.
Mm-hmm.
So, guess what's in the mirror?
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, that would be such a good Nikekubi story because the Nikekubi, the head is in the mirror, and that's like.
Yeah.
Well, something else is in the mirror at the end, but I won't give that away.
Now I need to know.
To read it.
I gotta read it.
You all this writing we have to read too?
No.
Ugh.
Yeah, well, the book comes out October 27th if anybody wants to read.
You go. Excellent.
Anyway, so what about you, Nikki? What world mythology do you want to see more of in books?
I would really love to know more Indian mythology because it's
Oh,
fascinating and it's beautiful, and there's so many very, very strong women. I mean, many of the Indian goddesses are bitches, man. They take no crap.
Years.
I love them. They don't take any crap, and it's beautiful. It's so pretty. That's what I think about it. So yes, I like that. I played with that for a little bit in a story. Yeah, something like that'd be a lot of fun. And again, I love the Celtic stuff mainly because I got a lot of Celtic roots. So it's kind of fun to dip my toe into my ancestral homeland. So, but no, Indian would be very fascinating because it's just really pretty. And vicious.
Mm,
Very, very vicious.
yeah.
Okay, so do you think that horror today has too much Western monsters, Western creatures, that they rely on that too much?
Well, yeah, Hollywood. You got, rich white men who are making movies and whatnot, and then of course publishers they're going towards the LCD,
Mm,
and they're not going to waste money or put money on something that no one your average muggle doesn't know.
Yeah.
So they're going to go for the vampires and the werewolves and the zombies because people know that. But to use an actual, like, okay, you saw the movie The Babadook?
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people didn't get the Babadook because it wasn't a monster that they were expecting. It's really more about the metaphor of the dark side of motherhood.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so it's really hard to get into. But yes, of course, it's extremely whitewashed and very European driven.
mm,
They're trying desperately to make it not so much. But again, they're only going to make movies and produce books that can sell because this is a business. In the end, the very end of everything, it is a business and they have to sell to the muggles. And the muggles only know what the muggles know.
That's right. Until they learn otherwise. And we're in the transition period of learning right
We're
now.
trying.
We're doing our best. Anybody with an open mind should be absorbing some of what's coming in. And then when that happens, then there may be a shift. There's already a partial shift.
It's a shift, but you look at history,
It's
shifts
minimal.
always shift back.
Yes, they do.
People
The
don't
trend-
like to learn new things. They want to go
It's not
back to
comfortable.
this is what we always knew. Well,
mm.
die off, boomer. So we can have the good stuff now and have some really
I
new
don't want
things.
that one.
So, yes,
Oh,
if you're
so
talking
Tamara
about
says, so the Muggles are in charge of culture.
in
So,
charge of people who are buying books and going to movies, yes, because they're the ones who. I mean, good lord! I mean, how many more Halloween movies do we need? How many more Freddy
No
Krueger
more.
movies?
We need no
We don't
more
need any more of
Halloween
those
movies.
crap
Oh, no.
movies.
Now, poor Michael Myers. What did he ever do to anyone?
What did he ever know? But no, it's like just they do. Yeah, quite frankly, if you really get down to the P&L, the P&L of it all is that what they're going to produce and make movies and books that your average person's going to buy at the local Walmart.
Yeah, that's interesting because I don't know about you guys. I'll make an assumption here based on the fact that we all have different, broader stroke minds. Than we're creative people.
Well,
I'll
yeah.
say it that way. I won't say that we're broader than anybody else.
No, we're
They
creatives.
different ways. We're creatives, right? My husband and I, when we watch movies, we look for things that are obscure. We go to something you'd like, and then go find things that are like it but different, but offbeat.
Right.
That's what we.
I get yelled at because I go see a movie and I start breaking it down. Why
Yes.
did this work? Why did this not work? And my mother-in-law was yelling at me like, why can't you just go and see something and just
enjoy the
like
movie.
it? Honey, that's not how my brain works. My brain
You
goes,
know what?
how does this work? And why did this work?
is
Why
how
did
I
this
like
not work?
it.
Yes.
That's how I enjoy it. That's how I receive
That's
it.
how I if you
You
but
can't help it. Yeah.
I love watching all kind and reading books, reading a book and understanding why. Why did this book? Have you guys read Whalefall yet? By Daniel
I've heard that
Krauss.
it's amazing.
It's freaking amazing, gonna win all the awards. But it's
I'm
fascinating
ordering it.
how it's written. You've got to see how it's written. It's written so sparsely at the same time. Bam, 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 bam. I had to put it down. I was like, I'm about to go get my I was in the doctor's getting my my yearly physical. I was like, I gotta put this down because it's gonna put off my blood pressure. It's so well written, and it's stressful as hell, and it takes place in maybe 6 hours.
Oh, nice.
It's great. It's a
Nice.
wonderful book. But again, I'm breaking it down because I'm
Right.
reading it as a writer and a reader. If you can actually turn off the writer brain, oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The thing I have the hardest time turning off is the editor brain.
Yeah,
That
that's a
one.
bad thing too.
I'm just like,
Why
that
did
one-
you use?
just kill the whole book.
You just switched verb tenses. Why did you switch? Okay, so yeah.
okay, we got some more comments here. So she thinks it's the reason to write more outside the box.
Exactly. Oh, I do too. That's which is what I do, but don't expect to make a lot of money at it.
Yeah.
I actually have a slightly different perspective on that, as in I'm very hopeful because we are seeing so much Asian horror out. We just had the first Asian ever, finally, in what a year is this? 2023. That won the Bram Stoker Lifetime Achievement Award. That's the first Asian ever. You know, and just things like that. We had Squid Game. When do you
True. Who makes
ever
money?
Squid
Do
Game.
you ever think that you would see Asian or Korean subtitle? I call Squid Games horror on mainstream Netflix and the entire country like obsessed. And then we had the Parasite, and then the Ring and all that stuff. But there's like I see it, and maybe because I'm in that little niche that I'm kind of going like, oh, we're sitting here going, oh my god, another one, oh, another one, and then like Everything Everywhere All at Once, not horror, but
I love that
Asian,
movie.
a movie about a laundromat lady that. So I'm kind of like very hopeful and like, yes, we're doing it. But as we get so interconnected, and this is what is different about the world now and the patriarchy. Before, there was a patriarchy and every area was cut off. And now you can't freaking disconnect everybody because we are literally wired to each other, like this right now. We're in Brazil and Nova Scotia and the US.
Tennessee. Yeah.
Yes, and we're all having a conversation in real time together about this.
Oh, yeah.
That's what breaks that down, and I feel like we're going to get more and more and more.
I hope
of it.
so. I really do.
Yeah.
It would give me hope for the human race.
Yeah,
It really does.
yeah.
Squid
Well,
Game is definitely horror, Vanessa. I saw that comment. You are right, 100%.
I think that was Tamara,
Yes,
but
it was.
Tamara, sorry.
Oh my gosh, but no, I am
what
basically.
is this? Okay, the patriarchy needs to watch the movie Pound Cake. I don't know
Pound
this
Cake.
movie, but it sounds interesting.
Is it
Rubber.
cannibalism? It's cannibalism. Isn't
Rubber.
It?
Oh
my
my
god! You know it is. I have no idea.
Oh, is
Oh
it
my
Eat the Rich? Is it literally?
oh yeah. Oh, that I actually have a story with the Gulaplass in it. It's called Eat the Rich. The rich is the guy that winds up being the Gulaplass first meal. Richard, but
Oh, very nice. Very good.
I want to be one of those rich people one day.
Oh,
Then they can eat me. I'm on offer once I've gotten there.
if I would, I wouldn't be rich very long. I'd be giving it away. I know myself. I would
I
be.
Okay, it's about white men being stalked by a serial killer.
oh,
About time. So
Okay, so yeah,
Oh my god!
cannibalism.
Yeah, I have to see this movie now. Okay,
Yeah.
I just googled it, and yes.
Okay,
I'm on
are there
board.
any monsters that you would like to play with that you haven't played with yet?
are we talking in real life or fiction?
I knew that was coming.
I have this lamp that an antique lamp that I've been really looking to polish.
I was talking about vampires. Like I have a kind of a long neck. The thing is right there.
She's still selling it.
She's
selling
still
it.
selling
Ready
it.
for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, a neatly placed scarf there.
Yeah,
Like,
it's meant to be like a dinner napkin, right?
All right, just tap, 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 tap. That's
And Angela will have a nice piece of ink done around it to memorialize it.
Exactly. Little hearts.
I actually did think about getting a little tattoo with like an arrow, like here, bite here.
Right
Oh,
here,
that's
yes.
brilliant.
But monsters we want to play with besides vampires.
Ugh. I don't know. Probably I like to play more with Jinn. That's a lot of fun. I love the idea of the Jinn and how because in Islamic culture they're real. I mean, it's a part of their culture. I lived in the Middle East for a while, and they didn't have haunted houses. They had houses that were possessed by Jinn, and they would be left alone. I mean, you couldn't exorcise it. That's the Jinn's house now. You don't go in there. And that always fascinated me. And when I lived in Oman, my hobby was basically to go to the silver souks and look for little pieces of their pagan past. And I found like these. These are Tsar rings, and they're used in exorcism rituals against Jinn. But yeah, Jinn. That's something. It's a story that I really want to work on when I get finished with this golem story that I'm working on right now. That I'm deeply. It's a golem story set in Tudor England.
Oh.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time writing it, but I'm really looking forward to getting done with it. And I want to do other things. You know that feeling.
Yeah.
That's every book ever.
All the other stories are going, hey, what about me? My ADHD brain kicks in, and then
wow.
squirrel. So,
Yeah.
And you're going, no, stay out. I have to do
I
this.
have to finish the golem story, damn it. So yeah.
I'm going to say, and I know they're not technically a monster, spiders, but I love spiders, and I love them so much because I was terrified of them for like, as in hyperventilating. I can't go in this room. I'm going to
Oh.
pass out from fear. And then now I just adore them, but so I feel like they should be glorified as a monster. So I do have tarantulas, which is a piranha tarantula cross, and I am rooting for the tarantulas. That's why everybody dies. It is true. I've been accused of that. Like, it's like you wanted the tarantulas to win. And I was like,
Yeah.
Going back to people are food, but we caught the super toxic poisonous wandering spiders, the Brazilian wandering spiders.
Yeah.
We had one wandering across our living room the other day. And so, like you do have that, like, whew, it's like scary because it's like the most toxic spider in the world, because that's what I read on the internet. And then I put a bowl over it, and then I started Googling and doing research, and they're fine. They are really toxic, but they give a dry bite if they bite you, so it's not like they want to give up all their poison and starve to death, for you, because they just, because I don't know, you're white or you're a human. But it just she was so intelligent. I named her Wendy. She's living in an undisclosed location far away. But just that whole concept of she's so terrifying, but like really not. So I would like the spiders to be the heroes, some kind of monster cross like that, like a Shelob, but friendly, like Shelob that wants to eat you and love you, like love you while she's eating you.
Okay.
Wrap you up in her little web and save you for later.
Yeah, I guess
Keep you
going back
nice
to the Baba Yaga.
Yeah, keep you nice and snug as a bug in a rug. I might
Yeah,
eat you
maybe-
tomorrow, but
Oh, maybe she's a vampire and she's just trying to give you eternal life, and it's just like a weird vampire spider cross.
cool. Vampire Spider-Man.
That's amazing.
Okay. Personally, I'd love to play with Anubis.
Oh.
Do a story. I mean, I've always wanted to do a story featuring Anubis as the
Like
main
my
character.
favorite.
Yeah, because poor Anubis gets a bad rap in the movies and in the
Yeah.
He does.
It's never the even. It's never the balance. It's always the unbalance, and so he has to do the thing. So
And it's not his fault. It's your fault.
no, it's not. It's his job.
Your heart.
That's my job, man. You're the one who led the shitty life. What's
Exactly.
getting all the crap? Yeah.
This is how I get paid. This is how I eat. This is what I
Your heart.
Yes.
I mean, I get stuck with this job. That's what I was assigned by my stupid family. It's just a family gig thing. It's like, it's not like I want to be the god.
Right.
I wanted to be a musician, but
it's like expectations people here.
Oh,
I love that.
Okay, so does anybody else have a creature they want to play with that they haven't tried yet?
I do actually, and Anita, do not laugh at me, but I love undersea creatures. I love cephalopods. I
they're
adore
neat.
cephalopods. I have a hard time personifying them in the horror world because I love them so much. I write in multiple voices, and it always ends up with a happy ending. I'm like, what is this crap? What is this? I don't write this stuff. But I keep trying and I keep failing, so I will continue to try to write a gruesome cephalopod story where they're not like cute and happy and
But they are little cuttlefish, and they talk with colors. They're adorable.
yes. Yeah, I got to see. I was out in San Diego one time and got to see. San Jose. Got to see in their Natural History Museum. They were opening it, and I was there about a half an hour before. They let me in. They were very nice about it, and I got to watch them feeding the octopus, which they don't do. Octopus don't eat with people watching. They do it very privately. Only their handlers, and they have to handle them like forever to get them to trust them. And the little guy just took his little food, wrapped it all up, stuffed it in his little beak right in front of me. I was like,
neat. That's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm trying to write that and not be like happy at the end.
So cute.
Yeah, well, I wrote a fantasy story about a bunch of sea monsters, so
I know, and it's good, and it doesn't have a happy ending.
Yeah, mine didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they were just loyal children doing what their mother told them. I mean, really, can't blame them for the destruction. It was all her fault.
I mean,
Yep.
isn't a happy ending a point of view though? I really like somebody is probably happy.
I mean, and they're living nicely now in the second book and the third book.
Right.
There you go. I'm happy
Yeah.
when someone goes, "Ah, what the hell was that?" Then I'm happy. So that's my happy ending. But I don't want it to be their happy ending. At least not in this voice. Not in the horror voice.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else have a monster they haven't played with that they'd like to?
My
Gosh,
book
I
is
really like all of them.
Yeah.
yeah. The one I'm working on right now, the work in progress, is about the devil, and I've never really played with him before, and so we're just gonna see how he turns out.
There's so many monsters I don't even know exist yet. Who knows? I may find something.
Right.
There's so many things out there I don't know. I'm not an expert in anything. So
Mhm.
yeah. Never
Oh,
know
We're
what's
all,
around
we're
the
all
corner.
just students until we're done.
Right.
I'd like to actually see more eco horror, more eco horror monsters, kind of like because we're having so many natural disasters, like the things that get created from the world getting too hot or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh man, that's
So everything I write, Angela.
Yeah.
Man, she eats babies like I write all the time. Eco horror.
Yeah. Well, I will say I'm going to do an eco horror anthology next year. So
Ah, nice.
Mm.
Nice.
Love it.
It is due. Let's hope you get there before it's overdue.
yeah,
Okay.
we have to get these submissions in quick because we have only got before this becomes reality.
Okay, so Tamara has actually played with Eco Monsters, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Ah, excellent.
Okay, so now we are on our last question here. So what traditional monsters have you used with a cultural variation on them? Like say, because vampires are in a lot of cultures, have you taken like the vampire but used the cultural variation on it, or some other creature?
I made zombie chickens.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
they can play with my zombie cows and my zombie penguins.
Yes.
There you go.
It's not like
It's
a
a
whole
weird
zombie
kind of. I
zoo.
made a huge kind of zombie snake god thing. I just made it up. I mean, I didn't. I just made
Nice.
it up. And the chickens were basically Loa possessed, and she was the antagonist, and she pretty much worshipped the chicken god thingy, who gave her all kinds of favors and whatnot. And it got really sexual between her and the thing, and it's pretty nasty the way she would sacrifice these people to the chicken god thingy. And that's in the very first Jake Ishinheji story. But yeah, zombie chickens probably one of the ways I pretty much twisted something around like that. I played with Lovecraftian monsters, the deep ones, and I kind of played with that around a little bit. But that's really about it. I haven't done any werewolves or vampires in a long time. I've never done a werewolf and a vampire. It's amazing. I didn't realize that until I started thinking about it.
Right?
So
I do ghosts. I do ghosts all over the place, but that's nothing.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
has anyone else done any cultural variations on traditional creatures?
I don't know if it's a traditional creature or not, but I do a lot of cave dwelling animals and twist them up a little bit and basically either put someone in their world who's never been in that dark space before and or draw the dark out to them. I don't know if that's traditional, but it's certainly a variant on, just the whole, we haven't gone spelunking. That's never how my stuff starts. My stuff starts like boof, eyes open, and I see nothing. Where am I? What's happening? What do I smell? What do I feel? What do I hear? So a lot of that stuff.
Okay, yeah. I did a cultural variation on the U.S. version of the Headless Horseman because I used the Irish version of the Headless Horseman, which may have actually been the inspiration for Washington Irving's Headless Horseman. But the Irish version's much more interesting because he's got a whip made of spines.
Nice.
Of a human spine whip.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is either depicted as riding a black horse or riding in a carriage with 6 black horses or 4 black horses. How many? I mean, don't remember how many horses was pulling the carriage, but anyway, which was interesting. And yeah, and he carries his own head around too.
Mhm.
And he'll wave it at people, freak them out, stuff like that. He's a lot more interesting than the Washington Irving headless horseman. But yeah, so
That's what I would do if I could take my head off.
Oh yeah.
I don't ever take my head off. I'll never
Right.
find it again.
I'm cutting in line.
okay, so the second part of that question, and some of you've mentioned this already, is if you've taken a standard myth or a monster or a creature and then twisted it with your own spin, and if so, how did it go?
Yeah, for me, it's the Time Worn Order. That's the name of my mythos creatures in the Silver Hollow trilogy, and the Time Worn Order is inspired by Lovecraft, but they are their own. They're their own pantheon of alien, godlike creatures that have existed since all eternity, and we're here pre-creation.
Very cool.
I did nonfiction, taking the Nikekubi in Unquiet Spirits, and I use the Japanese, the headless, the body sleeps, so people cannot even know they're in Nikekubi. They fall asleep, and their head goes around and is basically a vampire. But I took that as a metaphor for being oppressed, not being able to be yourself. So you're so controlled, and particularly with women, you're so controlled that at some point when you can't control it anymore, when the eyes are not on you and the lights are not on, you can literally split apart to go ravage the world and do these things that are natural. But when they're controlled, like pressure, steam is natural and doesn't do anything when it dissipates naturally. But if you bottle it up, it's going to blow everything.
Yeah.
And so, that was the Nikekubi, but it became a metaphor for for suppression and why that's not good.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really great.
Sorry, that's my son's like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like,
Hungry?
We're hungry too.
"Yes, people.
Me
We've
too.
been talking about cannibalism. Come here."
Can you lend me a hand?
He's like, "I'm your son. I know I'm safe."
No one's safe.
Yeah. I mean,
One's-
there is all this stuff about eating your young,
Yeah, I've been writing a vampire book. It's steampunk, and I've done a little twisting with the traditional myth by having the vampires were created by witchcraft.
Yeah.
And Lilith, the biblical Lilith,
Yes.
although technically she's not the biblical Lilith, but she's
the
based on the
pre-biblical Lilith.
she's based on the biblical Lilith, and Lilith's connection to the creation of vampires. There's
Interesting.
some version of that somewhere out there that she's got. Anyway, so I've used that as well and mixed that in. So it's a very interesting kind of vampire origin story that I'm working on with the vampires of the British Empire. So
Nice.
Nice.
I used vampires to what at the time was considered alternate sexuality. I use vampires to express my alternate sexuality, and use a lot of metaphor on that, and a lot of the dripping, the sniffing, the wandering, the exploring of the body, the finding the right place. It's very sensual, very, but also very aggressive and very gory come the end. But that's what I use to express that this is something that's not accepted by the world, yet it's perfectly acceptable in my world. So let me put this out there that way and personify it like that.
Yeah.
I love that we do tend to go to vampires a lot because they are such a strong metaphor. And one of the things I'd like to play with that I have not at this point, but is if you think about it, like the whole mythology of vampires is the whole exact mythology of the Christian thing, and it's just reversed. You've got the eternal life, the cup drinking the blood, eating the body, all of it is just like reversed. And so, I've often wondered, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this, but which is the truth? Which do you want to follow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He who penned it said it, and that's how it is.
Yeah. Here comes my hate mail. Not only do you like babies, but you said you love babies.
Okay, it's a good thing I'm not monetized. That's all I'm saying.
You're saying you have no sponsors left, right? SDP will sponsor you. How's that?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here because we're about 10 minutes over the hour. That's a good
Oh, no.
place to wrap it up.
Okay.
Well, I don't care if we're 10 minutes over the hour or not. Anyway, so I will let you all do the outros, tell everybody where they can find you, your books, and all that good stuff. So we'll start with Nina this time and go around the other way. So,
Okay. So, again, I am one of the owners of Sirens Call Publications, sirenscallpub.com. If you go there and hit up the About Us page, or you can find all of my links, my writing blog, the Ladies of Horror writing blog, where it's called Spreading the Writer's Word, where every month we do an acrostic challenge to 4 different pictures that I send out to anywhere between 20 and 30 different authors, whoever signs up. And they get a random picture. They don't know what they're getting. They get it, they write it, they send it back, we publish it. Also, Pen of the Damned, penofthedamned.com, another writing group that, both Anita and Angela belong to. And it's a once a week post, and we do a round table kind of thing where everybody has their slot in rotation and can find some writing there. I also have my actual blog is not spellable. It's Sotet Engil, which is Dark Angel in Hungarian, which apparently I've gotten wrong. It's been pointed out to me. So don't judge when you go. But links to all of that can be found off of the Sirens Call About Us page. That's probably the easiest place to hunt me down and find my stuff. Almost all of my writing is available out there for free. I don't really charge for my own writing. I give it away to anthologies. I give it away to everything because I'm one of those really hard push horror community people who's just about doing the thing for the people who are really doing the thing. Like they don't have another thing. That's what they're about. So that's me.
okay, Nikki.
Oh, hi. You can find all of my stuff. You can go to my website there, nnhbooks.com. All of my stuff's on Amazon. This weekend, or not this, next weekend, I'm going to be at the Tennessee Haunts and Legends. This is a little con at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds. It's all going to be about like paranormal stuff and ghost hunters and stuff. And I contacted them and said, hey, I write spooky stuff. Can I have a table? They said, yeah, sure, come on. It's the first year for this con, so it's going to be really small and intimate. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I will be there selling the books. And I always give away, the Perverse Muse is kind of my little swag I give away to people. And other than that, I'm pretty much there. I'm on Facebook and TikTok and every place. If you're looking for me, just Google me up, Nikki Nelson Hicks or nickcubed.com. So.
Okay, Lucien.
I'm Lucienne LeBeau, and silverhollowstories.com is my main page. You can sign up and get a free story and hopefully pick up some of my books if you like it. And I'm on Facebook as Lucienne LeBeau author, and on Twitter, X, whatever it is now,
X,
as
yes, whatever.
Elvira infrequently.
Yeah, me either. I'm forever
And
there.
that's where you can find me.
I think you should call it Twix. Like just combine
Yeah,
it.
that's a great one.
I'm hungry.
Twix.
Stop.
Yeah, well, everyone's either on the left side or the right side over there anyway. So it's good there. Anyway, so Angela, where can we find you?
It's myname.com. Angela, you can either do Angela Weismith if you're lazy.com or AngelaEurico.com. And we're getting ready to do our next issue of the magazine. And in that issue, I'm going to be talking about LaikaCon, which is going to be the Space and Time Awards program. And we're going to have an online convention in November, ending on Laika Day. November 3rd, we'll celebrate the birthday. And then I've got a bunch of books coming out at the time. So from all kinds of people, we'll be talking to some people here. And then I've got my first novel coming out in, I think, April in Eugenie, which, I've been talking about that one for a while. It's taken me a while to get back to it. It's been done forever. I just had to edit it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody here knows that.
Know the feeling.
Yeah, this is a story.
Okay, and I am Anita Stewart, AF Stewart, and you can find me at afstewart.ca. And I've published things like the Hayward and Anderson detective series, which is a bunch of short stories about paranormal detectives in steampunk England. And I just put my latest on pre-order, which is Fairy Tales and Nightmares, 9 stories of fairy tales retold through history, horror, and myth. And the tagline for that is sometimes happily ever after just means surviving.
Nice. Oh,
Right.
that's a beautiful tagline.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that kind of tells you what the book's about there. So and that's it for the panel. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you as always. And so we are saying good night
Bye.
and bye for now.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you, Anita.